Hey everybody, Seth here. Quick note before the show. Next Wednesday, October 24th, Becky and I will be recording the podcast live at Go Comedy in Ferndale. We're going to be joined by the Stacking Benjamins podcast, as well as Shannon Kaysen, who's an absolutely fantastic storyteller that you may know from public radio's The Moth or Snap Judgment. We hope you can join us. You can find all the details on our website at thedebriefdetroit.com/live. You can get tickets there as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, it starts at 7 o'clock and it will be at Go Comedy in Ferndale on Wednesday, October 24th. Hope you can make it out.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
The Brief. This is the Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And we've got another chef.
We do.
You must be really excited.
I'm so excited.
You love the food
stuff.
I
love to eat and I love the chefs, and so I'm very excited.
So we may have some people listening who have been to this chef's restaurants. He used to be at Imperial and was also at Public House, but left recently, and he is now at Rising Stars Academy in Centerline. He is a paraprofessional educator.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what that is, so we're going to have to ask.
I do,
All
just
right.
because I have kids in school.
Just because you're smarter than I am.
I didn't want to say it,
guess.
but yeah. But no, because I have kids in school, so very familiar with parapros.
Well, let's welcome our guest. It is Chef Brandon Zarb.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So let's start there. What is Rising Stars Academy, and what do you do as a paraprofessional educator there?
So Rising Stars Academy is a culinary-based school in Centerline, Michigan for special needs students. I say culinary-based because while it does have numerous cooking programs, we teach students other life skills as well.
So, what is the mission? What are you hoping to accomplish?
So the mission at Rising Stars Academy is essentially to get all of our students employed within 2 years of enrollment.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you select your students? How do they come to you?
So it's a charter school. So they can come to us and apply for enrollment, and it's 100% free to them.
Wow. And what ages?
Well, sometimes we call them kids, but actually our students are 18 to 26.
Sure. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a pivotal point in their lives, right? I mean, this is when they're trying to make that transition, trying to figure out, basically how they're going to make their way in the world.
Yep, absolutely. Because our students, most of them went to high school, but they don't necessarily get job skills in high school, things that are going to make them employable.
Sure.
So that's kind of where we step in, do things that mom and dad can't teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh, a typical day.
It probably isn't one.
Well, one thing that I like about Rising Stars Academy is we spend 100% of our time with the students. There's really no teacher's lounge to speak of.
Wow.
We, wait in the cafeteria with the students in the morning. We go to class. We go to lunch. Every teacher at Rising Stars eats lunch with their students at the cafeteria tables. I cook lunch with the students every day. And then when class gets out, we even all sit together, play games, and wait for the buses.
Wow. Is this like other culinary schools where there might be a program that's a specified length, or does it really depend on the student?
So we basically have a rotation set up with 4 or 5 different teachers, and we break the students up into groups, and then they'll be with the teacher for 3 weeks and then move around. Obviously, we don't have 5 or 6 different kitchens, so there's really only 2 classrooms that are totally kitchen-based, although we did just add a bakery, full-service bakery now, so we're doing that instead. But we don't have a regimented structure like a traditional culinary school would have, because the students that you might have in your caseload are just completely different from one another. So whereas one class I might actually be doing some pretty difficult knife cuts with some students, another class we're just focused on like a bit more basic things like how to measure, how to set up your station properly, stuff like that.
Frankly, I could use some of these skills.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Now, do you work directly also with employers to kind of see what employers' needs are and place kids? How does that work?
Yeah, we do, absolutely. So before we can get students 100% employed on their own, we'll often work with employers and send students for maybe 4 hours a day supervised to an employer, and they'll, whatever they need to do, it varies widely depending on where they go. And it's a nice foot in the door for the students and a nice way for them to kind of get that work experience while they still have us to help them.
Like an internship sort of thing.
Exactly
right?
like that. Yeah.
Can you name some of the employers? Are you allowed to?
I don't know.
Are we talking restaurants?
Mostly large manufacturing facilities that have cafeterias and things like that.
Okay.
I know we do General Motors. We're out in Centerline, which is right in Warren. So
perfect.
I know they go to an Arsenal that actually makes tanks.
Oh, yeah, that one you pass on 696
Yep.
there, yeah.
Yep. Students aren't making the tanks though.
Okay, good.
Stuff like that.
Nice.
So this is a transition for you, right? I mean, let's talk about this and what you were doing before and why you made this move.
Right, big change.
Because before that, you were at Imperial, you were at Public House, and talk a little bit about what you were doing there.
So I was their corporate executive chef. So I was running Public House. I was running Imperial. I was running a catering company that actually got really busy the last year. And then I was developing another restaurant concept for them. And, honestly, I just wasn't feeling it. It was a good job. It was a nice job, but I didn't love coming to work every single day doing what I was doing there.
Well, it didn't show because the food there is amazing. We love both those restaurants. So
I do too. I certainly do. And
you would have thought you were very passionate. So
I tend to be spontaneous with my decision making. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. This time I think it definitely worked out. But I had visited the school a few times. My friend Alex Clark, Bon, took me there for lunch once, and I was kind of blown away by it. But I was really busy at work at the time, and I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. And then I went back for a tour, maybe like 6 months or 8 months later. And, that's when I left. I started getting some crazy ideas in my head, like maybe I could have a future here, maybe do something different. And I just took the leap one day and just did it.
Yeah. Well, I think you listen to your intuition. If you're not excited to go to work every day, that's a big one. Yeah.
I've never once looked at the clock at Rising Stars.
Really?
No, it's not like that at all.
I would imagine it's a very you got to be present every moment.
You really do.
Yeah.
You really do. And it's one of those things where you'll come in. And, I haven't even had my coffee yet, and I'm engaged with 3 different students, and I'm just like, wow, this is actually pretty intense.
Mm-hmm. You got to love that. I mean, did you know at any point earlier that you wanted to be an educator?
Yeah, actually, I did. I've always considered education as sort of a late career job for a chef. Certainly you don't want to be 50 years old standing on a line.
No.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's the work itself. You're not designed to do it for your entire life, in my opinion. So I definitely always wanted to get involved with education later in my career. I think I will go back to running restaurants at some point. Mm-hmm. I don't really know when. I don't know if I'm going to do that soon or not. Or I might stay in education. Honestly, who knows? But yeah.
It's that impulse decision making. Could be tomorrow.
That's one of the things, though, about the food world is that I think so much of us, when we hear the word chef, we think of somebody, in a restaurant. But there are so many other places where there are chefs and so many, things that you might not think about.
Absolutely. And it's given me some more time to cook. If you believe that, I've been cooking more the last 3 months than I was the last year.
Wow, that's
because
cool.
I'm doing so many pop-ups and side gigs and fun things.
Right.
I've probably done 2 or 3 dinners a month just cooking everything myself, which I didn't, I spent a lot of time in front of a computer, clipboards, phone calls, emails.
I know when I was working in radio and I was around music a lot, I hit this point where going out to concerts started to feel like homework.
Yeah.
Or listening to a new album started, and I was always worried. I'm always glad that I never worked in television because I love television.
Right.
Do you get like that at certain points in the?
It depends on where I'm going to eat. I generally tend to eat at places that you might not expect a chef to go to.
Okay.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Like where?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you want me to give all my secrets away?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Nobody listens.
So
this is just for us, just between us.
It's good to know. I go to Q Hong in Madison Heights on John R. To get pho I go there like once a week.
Really?
Oh yeah. Pretty much any place in Southwest to get tacos. Del Rey is my personal favorite. It's everybody's favorite. Oh gosh. It's always the hardest question. I get asked a lot where I like to eat and I
it's
never
okay
know.
because we had Mark Kurlianchik on and he said he goes to Taco Bell. So
Does he? I actually live right by him. I'm going to pay attention next time I drive by that Taco Bell
oh yeah,
in our neighborhood.
he'll probably be there.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about some of the pop-ups you've been doing and what you've got coming up.
Oh, sure. Well, I've been doing a lot of Revolver because I really enjoy doing dinners there. I can honestly say Revolver is my favorite place to cook right now in the state of Michigan.
Really? What makes it...
It's just set up really well for a chef. And Peter, the owner, basically just gives me complete freedom. As long as we sell tickets, which we always do.
Always.
Then we just do whatever we want. But I just like the vibe there. It's laid back, but it's not too laid back.
Right.
It's still organized.
It's organized, and if I give them hot food, it gets to the guest hot, which is
it's important.
super important to me. I've done other pop-ups I won't say that are just a total nightmare. I mean, the tricky thing about doing those types of events is you're really letting your guard down as a chef because you're putting so much into other people's hands.
Right.
If I'm working at a restaurant, the same restaurant for years, I've got a lot of control. You can even influence the front of house and things like that. But when you do a pop-up, I mean, sometimes you don't even get like good refrigeration and, they might not get your food from point A to point B the way you'd like them to. So I generally like doing Revolver right now. And then just smaller private events.
You've lived in a couple of other different places around the U.S.
Yeah.
What is the food community here in terms of a market for things like pop-ups in Detroit? Where are we?
I think Detroit has a stronger environment for that than most places, to be honest with you. I think it's just gone over really well here. Because I'll give you an example. I've worked with this group called Place Invaders that travels all over the country. And they had decided that they were just getting tired, I think, driving around so much. So they knocked it back to just L.A., New York, and Detroit.
Right.
Wow.
And those are the
and
only...
that's where I met you because I had a brunch of yours.
Explain the concept, too.
Sure. So Place Invaders is basically like they get a private home of some sort that they host pop-ups in, and they'll just take it over for a weekend. So like in Detroit, there's been a mansion in Boston Edison. There's been a super cool loft in Corktown. This one where Brandon was cooking was an artist's enclave, basically an artist's home that was all customized in Grosse Pointe.
Have you done a single-family home in Oak Park yet?
No, I cook in a single-family home in Ferndale almost every day, though.
Yeah. So then, and these tickets sell out like crazy. So I get the emails. You have to like get on it right then.
Yep.
And so you get the experience of being in a really cool place that you wouldn't normally get access to, plus with a well-known chef from the area. So
Yeah.
So there is a community to support these kinds of events.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's a strong community in Detroit.
One of the things that we've talked about a little bit on this podcast is whether or not there is this idea of a Detroit cuisine.
Oh yeah. What defines Detroit food? Yeah.
Are you asking my opinion?
I am asking your opinion.
Oh man, I don't know if there is or not. In my head, there kind of is. I don't know if it's Detroit style cuisine or if it's just things that are kind of in vogue that you see Detroit chefs do. We kind of jokingly refer to it as the Grandma China trend.
Yes.
Where, Kate Williams, James Rigato, and multiple others, kind of serve modern food on old school China.
Often mismatched. And
which to me is becoming a Detroit thing. I generally think we do, our food tends to be fatty, high fat and high acid. I see a lot in Detroit. More so than other places. I feel like...
Give me an example of that. What does that mean? High acid, high fat?
Lots of pork belly.
Yeah, you just see like heavier foods and...
Meats and...
Lots of pickles, pickled things.
Fermented, yeah.
Pickling different things, yeah. Totally. But in terms of a style, I mean, I guess Midwestern comfort, but somewhat refined if I had to put labels on it.
So let's talk a little bit about your career and the places you've been, because you're from this area originally, right?
Yep.
But then you didn't stay here. Where'd you go? So let's.
No, we moved to. I was born in Royal Oak, and we moved to South Carolina when I was about 3 years old, and then I moved back up just before middle school, and then grew up out in Milford, and I cooked for a few years, and I moved to Chicago. And then I came back.
And did you know early on that being a chef was what you wanted to do?
No, not at all.
Really?
No, I feel like I started cooking very late in life, especially compared to a lot of the chefs that I know.
Well,
What
you're
is
not
late?
very old.
Yeah. I'm,
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm 31, and I got my first food-related job like right before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
But I was washing dishes in a bakery, and then I baked for 3 years. Probably couldn't have peeled an onion. So I've really only been cooking for like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you think you wanted to do? Was there another career that you had your eye on?
I always wanted to be, first I wanted to be a photographer, which I still kind of secretly do. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be an artist for a long time. Like I was, doing Jackson Pollock paintings in my basement, my parents' basement for years. And then, I don't know. I kind of didn't really know where I was going to go. I was playing music a lot, but I knew that I wasn't a talented musician. I wasn't. I was playing punk rock music, so no one knew, but
Oh, okay.
Right.
I didn't really have it. And I was just kind of bouncing around from job to job. And I got a job washing dishes in a bakery, which I kind of saw as like a temporary thing.
Sure.
And I remember at the time I wanted to join the military. I was thinking like Marine Corps or Navy, be a Navy SEAL or something. I took my mom out to lunch and I told her that I'd made my mind up. She started crying and she begged me not to. So I said, okay, can't do that. But there were a couple cake decorators at Holiday Market where I worked in Royal Oak that convinced me to go have lunch at Schoolcraft College in Livonia.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to lunch there. I took a tour of their program. And then I think 3 or 4 months later, I was signed up.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Holiday Market, has also got the class. I mean, I've taken some of the
And
cooking
Mirepoix,
classes there.
yeah.
so
I opened that cooking school.
Oh,
Did you really?
Okay.
Yeah, I was teaching there. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was teaching.
Oh,
How long
okay.
ago was that?
Yeah.
When Mirepoix opened,
This is so. If you go to
Maybe
Holiday Market in Royal Oak, the upstairs
level, yeah.
is
that must have been like 2011 or something, 2012
Oh, okay.
wow.
at the latest.
My son's taken some classes
I
there,
took knife
but-
skills. I
know it was a female
I didn't
chef.
realize how much I didn't know until I took the knife
Yeah,
skills class
it's-
there, and
yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is how you do an onion.
Well, I feel like you are an artist. I think chefs are artists.
I would disagree.
Really?
Why?
I think cooking can be considered an art.
Yeah.
1 in a million chefs, I would say, like Grant Achatz to me is an art because his cooking invokes emotion. But to me, cooking is a craft, and
Okay.
I don't like to look at it as a craft. I don't think you're making a painting. I think you're building a chair. You're building it perfectly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because to me, it's almost impossible to express emotion through cooking. I mean, I might have an emotional reaction to something I eat. If my grandma is Polish and I eat pierogies, I'll have an emotional reaction, but that's not, the chef doesn't give it to me.
Cause it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I've always seen it
You
as a
just haven't
craft.
made a green apple helium balloon for people to eat. Have you eaten with Grant Achatz restaurant in Chicago?
I had a competition. I used to do a lot of competing, and I had a national competition that was hosted in Chicago while I was living there. And I was in nationals, and they surprised us the day before the competition. They brought us into Alinea at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, which is a really crazy time to be in their kitchen because those guys are hustling harder than you can imagine. Yeah. And they cleared off, they've since redesigned the kitchen, but they used to have these 2 long stainless steel tables right down the middle. They cleared both of them off and they served us a dish on those tables while the whole kitchen was prepping around us. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then I ate at Next once, his
Okay.
other restaurant.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I still haven't done Alinea. The funny thing is when you're a young chef, you're cooking in Chicago, you don't have money to eat anywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you going to spend?
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't go to any really fun. I was there for over 3 years. I barely ate anywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you
I
just
could see that.
you can't afford
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Who are the chefs that you look up to?
Oh, that I look up to? Oh gosh. You know, I guess my favorite chef is probably Marco Pierwhite, who most people don't know.
Yeah.
He's an English chef. He hasn't been in the kitchen for a very long time. He's basically a restaurateur at this point. But he was the youngest chef to ever get 3 Michelin stars. And then shortly after, he gave them back, which I don't think anyone's done since. I'd have to check.
Wait, stop for a minute.
Yeah, how do you give them back?
And just in case anybody doesn't know what a Michelin star is, explain the significance of a Michelin star.
You know, you always hear restaurants referred to as 5-star, 4-star, and it doesn't really mean a lot. Depends, you know, if we're talking about New York Times, 4 stars is the best. Maybe Free Press uses a 5-star scale. I'm not really sure. But the highest award a chef can get in the entire world is 3 Michelin stars. Mm-hmm. So 1 star means your restaurant is amazing. 3 means that you're, you know, one of the best in the entire world.
Creme de la creme.
Yeah. So he got his 3rd star, and he's kind of like a rebel.
And what was the restaurant? It
was called Harvey's. It was in London. His heyday was like early to mid 80s, I want to say.
Okay.
But it was the place to be seen, you know, that time of, or that era rather. But he didn't want the pressure of having to keep them,
Right.
you know, because you get reassessed constantly, and for a 3-star to go down to a 2 is kind of a big deal.
So how does it work when you're a chef? How do you discover, you know, another chef who had his heyday in the 80s in London, and you're over here?
Because he's studying his craft.
reading.
But what does that mean
Yeah.
when you say, like, what are you reading? What are you looking up?
You know, I was obsessed with books, not cookbooks per se, but books about cooking. I've always been obsessed with.
You got favorites?
Yeah, let's see. Well, Marco's autobiography is called Devil in the Kitchen, which is a great, amazing book to read. He might not be your favorite chef after you read it, but
Well, everyone comes with a personality.
yep. Another book that was really influential for me was The Soul of a Chef. It was written by a gentleman named Michael Rollman, and it was kind of a weird situation where I was reading the book, and I was living in Milford at the time, and I just ordered the book off Amazon. I didn't know anything about it. And I opened it up, and page 1 was about a Michigan chef named Brian Polson, whose restaurant is in Milford.
Yeah.
And it was just like this kind of weird, surreal feeling. And that was actually the first restaurant I ever worked at. I was like, I got to make this my first pit stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the book that made me want to cook was Kitchen Confidential.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
that's the only one this is Anthony Bourdain's.
Right.
Yeah.
I listened to that
Yeah.
audiobook.
Keep in mind, I was listening to punk rock music and, you know,
Yeah,
playing
he totally
guitar.
fits
Sure,
the.
sure.
So
Did you listen to it? Like
Yes.
he reads it. I don't know
It's
if you read
amazing.
it or listened to it, but it's great as an audiobook.
Oh, where it's him actually narrating
Reads
it?
it, yeah.
And my favorite thing is that you can totally tell when he goes out for a smoke break or he quits, and then, because all of a sudden mid paragraph his voice will get like 3
really?
octaves deeper.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
Yes, that's amazing. Can we talk about some of the other places you've worked in the area? Because one of them I was just at over the weekend. I met my girlfriend at Cork.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, Pleasant Ridge, yeah.
Is that right?
And so we go back every year now. And tell us about your time there.
Yeah. Well, Cork was the second restaurant I worked at. The first restaurant I worked at was Jeremy in Keogh Harbor. So, you know, obviously the Detroit scene has blown up quite a bit in the last 5, 6, 7 years. But before that, you know, there weren't a ton of restaurants that a young chef was like really interested in working in.
For sure.
You know, Roast was the hot spot for a long time, Andy's restaurant. So I basically looked at the restaurants that had won Restaurant of the Year. The first one, or an early one, being Five Lakes Grill in Milford, Brian Polson's restaurant. So I went and did a stage there. I worked there for free for an entire summer, basically.
Really?
Yeah, which was a great experience. And then I showed up for work one day and the restaurant had closed and they didn't tell me because I was the stage.
That's rough.
Yeah, I got some good stories from there, but I don't think I can tell them on the radio.
Hey, it's closed now. Just-
I'll put it in my Kitchen Confidential.
There you go.
yes. Save it up for your memoir.
Yep. So I went to Jeremy in Keogh Harbor, which had won Restaurant of the Year as well. And that's really where I truly learned how to cook in a restaurant. Jeremy Grandin's a very, very, very smart chef. He worked at Tribute for Takashi for a long time. And then I went to Cork. I opened Cork, and then, I started to get hungry at a young age, and I really wanted to be a sous chef. And the chef there was just not having it. She's like, no, you're not ready. No way. So I went to somewhere else that I'm not going to name. And I was a sous chef there very shortly. And then I ended up going back to Cork.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And
Grass is always greener.
Yep. And then I was wrapping up culinary school at that point. I was doing a lot of competitions. And then probably one of the more interesting chapters of my career was this restaurant in Southfield you may or may not have heard of called Gastronomy. Does it ring any bells?
I have, yeah.
I think it was only open for like 16 months or something.
I was going to say a year-ish, yeah.
Yeah. So I started out there as a line cook, and then, gosh, maybe 3 or 4 months later, I was chef de cuisine, and I was running everything. And they had upper management issues.
Okay.
To where, sometimes we would have an executive chef there and sometimes not. So I was having a lot of responsibilities in my lap that I wasn't necessarily looking for at the time. But the food at that restaurant was really cutting edge. It was really ahead of its time, especially for Michigan.
I was going to say, I think the environment wasn't ready for it.
No.
That's an ambitious name. I mean, what do you mean when you say it was cutting edge?
We were just doing very avant-garde, modern cuisine. Just
give me an example.
Oh gosh, okay. It's kind of like long-winded. I don't want to run out of time.
Yeah, no.
So we used to do, and the chef was Adam Hightower. He's an amazing man. He's a very talented chef. He's one of my closest friends in the entire world to this day. We did a smoked Great Lakes walleye chowder. So if you can kind of envision in your head a glass sphere with a hole in the top, and then a cone that fits into it.
Yeah.
Okay, you have that.
Yep.
So in the glass sphere, we'd fill it up with whatever kind of aromatics we felt like doing, and then we'd fill it up with smoke. And then in that little cone, I'd preset it with warm water to get it hot. And then, when the order's ready to go out, pour it out, and then fill it up with this beautiful walleye velouté, with just like perfect brunoise, blanched vegetables, all of them separate. And then we'd put raw brunoise walleye into it, and the broth was just hot enough it would barely cook the fish, so it just had the best texture you've ever had in your life. And then the guest would be instructed to kind of pick up the cone and just let a little aroma out as they're eating it. And we were pulling that off in Southfield or an office building.
Wow.
Right.
Pre-Torino, pre-Selden Standard, we were doing it for all that stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was interesting. But like you said, it was ahead of its time.
We'll talk about how the local restaurant scene has changed over the last several years.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean it's turbocharged, I guess you could say. It's grown so fast, and I think there's a lot of really good quality restaurants out there. In some ways, I think it's growing too fast.
What do you mean?
We're not able to sustain a job market for all the restaurants that are opening right now. And I see really nice, beautiful restaurants opening them up that might not have qualified staff.
Yeah, the service is lacking.
So it's not about a lack of customers; it's about a lack of staff.
100%.
Oh yeah, the demand is there, but yeah,
there's no one to work in our restaurants.
Why is that?
I just think not enough people are coming out of the woodwork or graduating from culinary school or doing the career change thing. There's just not enough to keep up with the rapid pace of growth. We think of Detroit as a big city, but you go to Chicago, New York, it's,
Well, I think we also don't have the pool of people that aspiring actors, aspiring musicians, that
from a front of house standpoint.
Yeah, from the front of house.
100%.
Yeah, so service too, just where people are, pretty well qualified and they're taking their serving job seriously, but they're pursuing something creative on the side. We don't have those huge pools of people.
No, not at all. You go to New York City and, you get the best service wherever you go.
Yeah.
What is the state of culinary education in the city of Detroit, and how does that compare to other places?
Detroit City proper?
Well,
I don't know that there is any
Metro.
culinary education, really. we've got a few good culinary schools. I think Schoolcraft College is the best. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I went there, but I also went there because I thought it was the best.
Right.
Oakland Community College is pretty good. As far as Southeastern Michigan goes, I mean, I might piss off a couple people, but I think that's about it.
Right.
I think Art Institute is closed.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
I think so. And Max Hardy was on last week, and he was talking about really the lack of good service and the pipeline, and he's really trying to help change that.
Yeah.
Working with Cleary, so.
Yeah.
What does it take to solve that problem?
Well, that's $1 million question right now.
Right.
I mean, Rising Stars Academy it helps.
How many graduates are you turning out?
Our program's pretty open-ended. I think we'd like to see, we set 2 years as a goal to get students employed, but we have kids that have been there for 4 or 5 years,
right?
Who are really good in the program.
But how many students do you have in the program at any one time?
So the first year, I think we're in our 5th year right now, maybe 6th. The first year they started the school with 23 students, and right now we have 125.
Oh
wow,
that's a lot of growth.
Yep, I think they were in the 70s or 80s last year, so we just had like a really nice bump in enrollment.
Nice.
Yeah, we're actually opening up an entire wing of the school that really wasn't being used. So there's a lot going on, and then next year we think we are going to get a lot more.
Wow.
Well, there must be some targeted outreach, right? Just to let people know, parents know that this exists and there's opportunities.
That's why I'm here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I had to offer the school is just kind of getting them some PR, getting them some press. I remember when I was leaving, first I didn't know if anyone was going to care. And then second, I thought everyone was going to be mad at me, which they weren't. Everyone was just like really understanding. But you don't, when you're thinking about these things in your head, you're not sure.
You're not rational.
What's gonna
but it's
happen.
not like you quit to go play golf or something.
That's true. Sit on the couch and watch Netflix or whatever.
Right.
No. And I sent out like a little press release just because I didn't know how that situation was going to want to go down, and I wanted to make sure I got
get ahead of it.
My word out first. So I sent out a little press release. I didn't think anything was going to happen. Gosh, there must have been like 10 articles written. I did a couple interviews with Mark Kurlianchik, who wrote a big piece on it. So, but that alone, a lot of people found out of the school through that.
Right.
So that's been really helpful. I'm trying to get some events going together with the school.
You have one coming up on Monday.
That's right. Yep.
Tell us about that.
Monday, October 22nd, Rising Stars' first annual Hoop House Fall Harvest Dinner. So we actually have gardens on site. We've got 2 hoop houses, one that has just got donated that we're building right now. But we're going to do a dinner inside of it. And it's going to be, prominently featuring student-grown produce. We're going to have the students cook a bunch of courses. I've got some great chefs coming to help. So, if you want to buy tickets, you can go to risingstarsacademy.org/events. And we think we've got a couple tickets left, but they're going pretty fast.
Okay. We'll put a link on our website. I think that's a brilliant idea. And I think people are really into that, having a dinner in a unique space.
Pop-up dinner?
I mean, every one I go to, I have to buy the ticket like right away.
Oh, yeah.
Get there. And, just people like unique experiences.
Yeah.
And then with the side benefit of knowing the great mission of the school, we can feel really good about supporting it. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have one last thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Now, Rising Stars is going to have a restaurant, correct?
That's correct.
Tell us about that coming up.
So we actually run a restaurant in-house. It's completely student-run. They do everything from cooking to front of house, service, cashing you out. They do the whole 9 yards. And it's going to open up this November.
Oh, that's exciting. That's awesome.
Well, we'll be there when it does.
Definitely.
All right, Brandon, are you ready to play a little game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's how this works. We're going to make a series of rapid-fire recommendations. You just tell us the first thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Yeah.
What is your favorite way to spend a sunny day in Detroit?
Oh, gosh. Riverfront, going for a walk.
Nice.
What's your favorite specialty food shop that you like to patronize?
Oh, it's got to be 168 Market, Madison Heights.
What do you get there?
What don't you get there?
Yeah, it's crazy big and cool.
It's the best Asian market. It's the biggest Asian market in Michigan by far.
Oh,
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Detroit dive bar?
Favorite Detroit dive bar? I don't know if I want to give it away.
Ooh. Nobody listens.
You know, my
us.
yeah.
Just us.
My favorite bar in Detroit is probably Bumbo's in Hamtramck.
Oh, nice.
I think it's a pretty classy dive, but let's go with that.
If you could have lunch with any Detroiter, dead or alive, who would it be?
Any Detroiter, dead or alive? Oh, probably like Ty Cobb or an old baseball star or something.
Are you a big baseball fan?
Yeah, I guess you could say so. I haven't been following up the last few years because I've been kind of busy.
Do you have a favorite song by a Detroit artist?
Gosh, I don't know. Any White Stripes song off Day Still is great.
Nice.
How about place for late night food?
You know, late night food, I think Yemen Cafe, also in Hamtramck, which most people don't know is open till like 2 or 3 a.m.
I didn't know that, yeah.
It's amazing. It's fantastic.
All right, Brandon Zarb. That was pretty easy, right? You did well.
definitely.
Nice. I love this game because I always
like it
get
too.
new recommendations,
I
new
know,
places
I'm
I have
busily
to.
writing them down.
The last time I went through Hamtramck, I kept going, I couldn't find places to go. So now I've got a couple new places that I need
There you
to
go.
check out. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, of course.
Again, you are a paraprofessional educator at the Rising Stars Academy in Centerline. And if people want to go to the big first annual fall harvest dinner, where do they go again?
You can go to risingstarsacademy.org/events, and there's a link there to buy a ticket.
Thanks, Chef Brandon. And
Thank you.
For everybody else, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.